In the summer of 1867, in the countryside near Sedalia, Missouri, 8-year-old Timothy Caldwell became the subject of the most disturbing medical case file in the American Midwest. Dr. Samuel Harding, the only physician in the county, meticulously documented observations over several months of a boy whose behavior seemed to defy all known principles of human nature. At first glance, Timothy was a normal, even charming child. But behind his innocent exterior lurked something that 19th-century medicine could not explain. Over 6 months, 3 people died in the county, along with dozens of farm animals. All of them had, in some way, crossed paths with the boy whose smile never reached his pale blue eyes. Official records were sealed by local authorities for a century. But the story of Timothy Caldwell reveals a darkness that challenges our understanding of the capacity for evil in childhood. Life on the farm. Timothy's life on the Caldwell farm began not with malice, but with loss. Missouri in 1867 was still recovering from the Civil War. Timothy's parents had died, his father on the battlefield, his mother from consumption. The 8-year-old orphan was taken in by his uncle, Thomas Caldwell, hardened by war, and his wife, Sarah. Neither was equipped to raise a child, especially one who arrived with eyes that seemed far too old for his young face. The boy was quiet, polite, and hard-working. He never complained about labor and was always impeccably respectful. It was this very flawless demeanor that first unsettled Dr. Harding when he saw Timothy in the summer of 1866. The doctor, who had seen much during the war, noted in his diary that the child studied me with the same clinical interest that I usually reserve for my patients. Neighbors, such as Eleanor Patterson, noticed that Timothy worked with unnatural focus, like a little machine, never stopping to play. Even more disturbing was the animals' behavior. The Patterson chickens would panic and refuse to approach the fence whenever Timothy was near. The first accidents. The first death occurred in August 1866. 5-year-old Mary Fletcher, the blacksmith's daughter, drowned in a creek where the water was barely 18 inches deep. Timothy discovered her body. He ran to the Fletcher's home with a pale face and reported that Mary isn't breathing. Dr. Harding dismissed it as a tragic but common accident. However, he was troubled by the extraordinary precision of the details with which Timothy described the body's position and the condition of the girl's clothing. When asked why he was in that spot, the boy said he was looking for a lost calf. The calf was found safe a mile away 2 days later. At the funeral, as grief broke Mary's mother, Timothy stood with his head bowed, but Eleanor Patterson noticed that his eyes were dry and watchful. The second death came 3 weeks later. Elderly lumberjack Henrik Lenn was found dead at the bottom of a 40-foot cliff known locally as Devil's Bluff. His neck was broken. Once again, Timothy was involved in the discovery. He suggested the old man might have been attacked by bees and lost his footing. However, Dr. Harding found that the beehives on top were undisturbed, and the dead bees were clustered only around the body, not along the path of the fall. The third death finally shattered the illusion of coincidence. 6-year-old Jacob Mills vanished in the woods and was found 4 days later, alive but dying of dehydration at the bottom of an abandoned well. Timothy, who had helped with the search, claimed to have heard a moan. Jacob died within hours. Harding found it suspicious that the boy was able to locate such a carefully concealed well. Upon inspection, he discovered that the logs covering the well had not fallen by chance, but were deliberately placed with surgical precision, creating perfect camouflage. Most chillingly, during Jacob's final hours, Timothy sat in the corner, and Dr. Harding saw that the boy was not praying. His eyes were fixed on the dying child with a near scientific intensity. When Jacob died, Harding detected not sorrow on his face, but satisfaction.
Dr. Harding's investigation. Harding's suspicions grew, reinforced by a series of strange livestock deaths on neighboring farms. Chickens with neatly broken necks, calves accidentally strangled by ropes. All incidents occurred on farms near the Caldwell home. The doctor, using his position, began visiting the farm more frequently. He noticed that Timothy showed an unnatural interest in anatomy and death, asking questions far beyond normal childhood curiosity. "How do you know if someone is really dead? Sometimes people just look like they're sleeping," he asked one day. By November 1866, Harding was certain. Timothy Caldwell possessed an adult understanding of violence and death, but a complete absence of human empathy. He was a dangerous predator in a child's body. The turning point came when Uncle Thomas injured his back, allowing Harding frequent visits. During one conversation, Timothy mentioned a cave where he liked to think. Dr. Harding went there and found horrifying evidence. A carefully organized collection of animal bones, crude surgical instruments, and a series of detailed drawings. They depicted rabbits, birds, and other animals at various stages of torture and dissection. Nearby were notes in the child's handwriting. Subject remained conscious for approximately 10 minutes after removal of eyes. Vocalizations decreased gradually. Harding then found newer drawings that showed human figures in distress, clearly identifiable as Mary Fletcher, Henrik Lenn, and Jacob Mills in the well. Timothy had not simply been present during these deaths, he had planned and documented them for his research. The confrontation. Harding was in an impossible situation. The evidence was there, but the idea that an 8-year-old child was a calculating murderer psychopath was literally inconceivable to 1867 society. He decided to speak with Timothy alone. When the doctor revealed what he had found in the cave, the boy showed neither surprise nor fear. He simply smiled. "You won't tell anyone, because no one would believe you, and because you're curious about what I'll do next." Timothy confessed he had been conducting experiments since age 5, starting with insects. And the people who died were experiments too. I wanted to see if people would react the same way as animals. They mostly do, but they are better at understanding what is happening to them. That makes it more interesting. He also revealed his next intention. "I need to find out what happens when you hurt someone who trusts you completely, someone who won't suspect anything until it's too late." It was clear he planned to kill his aunt and uncle. That very night, Harding, risking everything, approached Sheriff William Crawford. The arrest. The next morning, Harding and armed hidden sheriff's deputies arrived at the farm. The doctor immediately felt an unsettling silence. Timothy met him at the door. His hands were meticulously scrubbed, and his eyes showed anticipation. "I've been waiting for you," the boy said. Inside, Thomas and Sarah Caldwell were sleeping, but their breathing was unnaturally shallow. Timothy had given them herbs to give us plenty of time to talk without interruption. He wanted his victims helpless but alive. Timothy began his narrative. "Mary Fletcher. Drowning is actually quite slow. I had to hold her head under the water for almost 3 minutes before she stopped fighting. Henrik Lenn. I couldn't overpower him physically, so I had to be more creative. I loosened some stones on the cliff edge, and when he climbed up, I threw a bag of bees at his face. He panicked and fell. Jacob Mills. I didn't kill him quickly. I convinced him to climb into the well, promising to show him baby raccoons. I visited him every day, bringing just enough water to keep him conscious, but not enough to regain his strength. Finally, he addressed the doctor. You are the perfect subject for a completely new study. I want to find out what a man who knows he's going to die will do to save the people he cares about." Timothy began gathering weapons: rope, a heavy candlestick, sharp kitchen knives. Harding drew the pistol from his bag. "That's a Navy Colt, isn't it? 6 bullets. How many people are you trying to protect? 6. Even if you shoot me, you'll have used up all your ammunition." In the ensuing struggle, Timothy, moving with frightening speed and anatomical precision, managed to wound the doctor. But the deputies, hearing the struggle, burst in. When the boy, his face bloody, was subdued and tied with ropes, he said, "You can't prove anything. No one will believe a child did all those things." He smiled. "You won't hang me. I'm too young and too interesting. Someone will want to study me instead." Timothy's fate. Timothy was right. The prosecutor rejected the evidence from the cave as fantasies of a traumatized child. However, the attempted murder with witnesses could not be ignored. Since the legal system did not know what to do with such a young killer, a compromise was reached. Timothy was sent to the Missouri State Hospital for the Insane in Fulton for study. Dr. Harding voluntarily spent 3 months there, observing the boy. He documented that Timothy quickly learned to mimic emotions. He cried, expressed remorse and gratitude. But for Harding, it was merely a performance, which he described. The subject has learned to simulate normal human reactions with sufficient skill to deceive casual observers. He understands happiness as the face people make when they want something good to continue, and sadness as the face people make when they want others to help them. But he has never experienced either of these emotions himself. 18 months later, Timothy disappeared from the hospital under unexplained circumstances. The official version was an escape during a transfer, but Harding suspected it was the culmination of a meticulously planned scheme based on months of manipulating staff and understanding their psychology. Harding dedicated the rest of his life to tracking reports of suspicious deaths across the Midwest, trying to understand what Timothy Caldwell represented. In his final entries, made before his death in 1891, Harding reached a chilling conclusion. Timothy was not an aberration. He was a glimpse into what human beings might become when stripped of the moral and emotional constraints that we consider fundamental to our nature. The Caldwell farm was abandoned, and the cave was sealed. Dr. Harding's journals, which became one of the first systematic studies of antisocial behavior in children, are preserved in the archives of the Missouri Historical Society. The story of Timothy Caldwell is a challenge to our belief in the innate innocence of children. It shows that evil can hide behind an angelic face, and that there are people born without the capacity for empathy. What part of this chilling story did you find the most disturbing?